Hello viewers, in today's video we're going to be discussing a very important topic, one that has shaken the town of Innisfil to its core. Can you keep chickens in your backyard? And the answer to that question is if you can visually see your neighbor's house, then it is illegal and you cannot keep chickens in your backyard. That's all for today's video guys, thank you so much for watching, I'll see you next week. So chickens in your backyard, they're arguably smaller or the same size than cats or dogs. They're quieter than dogs at most times, and they even offer a natural food source, which is, a healthy supply of eggs. Why is it currently illegal to raise hens in Innisfil? In this video, we're going to talk about why chickens are currently a trending topic in Innisfil, why it is currently illegal to raise them, and number 3, how you can potentially vote to change this bylaw or have it amended. If you're new here, what's up? My name's Andre. I make real estate related content and this video, and if you want to skip ahead at any point in time to a specific part, the time code is down below. Now before we jump into it here, my personal opinion on it is this. If you own half an acre of property and are surrounded by people like most subdivided areas in Innisfil, then it should be illegal to raise hens in your backyard. But if your property owns an acre or more and you have separation between you and your neighbors, then it should be allowed. So starting off, why are chickens currently a trending topic in Innisfil? It turns out that ever since the first COVID lockdown, quite a few Innisfil residents purchased hens and began keeping and raising them in their backyards in neighborhoods such as Alcona and the nearby populated areas. This was reported and a bylaw officer was sent by to the residents' properties to ticket them and order them to dispose of the birds, which resulted in a couple residents going to the local newspaper and them publishing a story about it. And that turned into quite a sizable forum on the internet where people now want bylaw 06806 changed or even overturned. And for your information, I read the entire bylaw and spoke to the township of Innisfil before making this video to make sure my facts and information was straight. So rest assured, I have my ducks in a row. Rest assured, I have my hens in a row. So ever since that first news article was published, people are coming together to dispute this bylaw. And it really breaks down into two parts, the resident's perspective and the township's perspective. I'll link the article below, but the residents' perspective on why chickens should be legal and should be allowed to be raised in their backyards is pretty fair. So here's what the article says. Families have found that with public schools closed and the task of homeschooling kids, they started spending more time doing household activities like baking and cooking. Specifically for this resident, they noticed that continually, every time they went to the grocery store, the egg shelves were bare, so they decided to purchase hens for a steady supply of eggs and an educational opportunity for the kids. In addition to these residents having a larger backyard, they made sure to check with all the neighbors to make sure that they were okay with it, which they said they were, but a bylaw officer came by and told them that they have to give the hens away and stop raising them because it's against the bylaw. The only tip I'd have there is that probably get it in signatures next time because I feel like one of the neighbors probably didn't like it that much. But that's the basic resident's perspective on it. It's a pandemic. My kids are home. Why am I not allowed to raise hens? Why am I not allowed to educate myself and my children on some agriculture, all the while benefiting from natural homemade eggs, right? Who doesn't like homemade eggs? But that brings us to point number 2, the township's perspective and why it's currently illegal under the bylaws to raise hens in your backyard. So bylaws are rules made by townships for a variety of reasons. When it comes to maximizing land use, you have zoning bylaws. When it comes to protecting certain things, you have environmental restrictions. And when it comes to animal rights bylaw 06806, it's about regulating the amount of farm animals present, noise, and resident enjoyment of said areas. So hens, chickens, and roosters are galliforms, and they're labeled as farm animals, meaning there are rules and regulations to keeping and raising them. Rules and regulations that farmers already know or have in place in order to operate, but rules and regulations that residents potentially don't know and won't be able to have if they're raising them in their backyard. Now this was pretty surprising to me, but when I spoke with the township, the biggest reason that they are against residents raising hens in their backyard is the risk of disease, specifically bird flu. And when we talked, they mentioned that in 2015, when bird flu cases were found in Ontario, even though there were no active cases in Innisfil, farmers had to dispose of all their birds due to the risk of just one getting it within a certain kilometer radius. So from a township perspective, if you have 100+ residents independently raising hens in their backyards and just one of them catches some type of disease, not only would it be too late to locate and contain everyone within a certain kilometer radius, would have to dispose of their birds, including large farms that supply produce to all parts of Ontario, and large farms that, you know, people work there, their jobs. Farmers do it for a living. And although the percentage of that happening is small, yes, but I think it's a really realistic precaution and enforcement that the township has to make, because if you can just imagine if that did happen, it would be such a huge waste. So many businesses would be hit, not to mention that it could be life-threatening for the residents of Innisfil. Combine that with smell, noise, and potentially attracting other wildlife such as mice, rats, and coyotes. Those are the township's main viewpoints on the topic, and why, if you live in neighborhoods such as Alcona, Stroud, Lefroy, Guildford, and Cookstown, it is illegal to raise hens in your backyard under the bylaw. And that brings us to our final point in this video. How can you potentially vote to amend or change this bylaw? Now, after that article was published and all these forums started, the council has received immense pressure to have a discussion on this bylaw. And as far as I know, it's sometime between January to March 2021 when they're gonna have likely an online discussion on what can be done. Can this bylaw be amended? Can it be lifted in certain areas? Is there any way that maybe permits might be handed out for residents that do want to keep hens in their backyard or not want to keep hens? But if that's something that interests you, you should definitely go and vote on it. And that is all for today's video. So let me know in the comments below, do you agree with the township perspective or do you agree with the resident perspective? Are they overthinking it? Are they overshooting it? And at the end of the day, who do you think should be the master of the Gallus domesticus? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next week, Friday at 7.